Hello everyone, FPL Raptor here and welcome back to another video on my YouTube channel. In today's video we have my Game Week 16 transfer plans where I'll go through my early thoughts around my team and the upcoming game week. If you do enjoy today's video, please do smash that like button, and if you're new around here, make sure to subscribe as well. But without further ado, let's jump into it. So guys, before we move on to Game Week 16, let's very briefly review Game Week 15, and I'm recording this straight after the Spurs versus Chelsea game. And firstly, what an incredible game of football that was. It's always a good game when those two teams come together. But as of right now, obviously the bonus points might change and there is one more game left to play, but I'm currently on 68 points. And I do have two players in that game as well, with Ait Nouri, who's subbing on for me as an auto sub, and also Cunha. So it's a healthy green arrow from about 650k to around 400k with two players left to play. So it should be a green arrow and it could get even better as well. And in all honesty, it's just been a really good run for the last kind of 6 to 8 game weeks now. It's been mostly green arrows. And this week, considering only 3 of my players, well 4 technically, have returned, it's a very, very healthy green arrow. And I mean, most of that is down to Cole Palmer. I would love to know down below in the comments, how many points are you on? I've seen some people that are closing in on 100 points, which is absolutely crazy. But I've also seen some people that are around sort of 25 to 30. It feels like a very swingy game week, and I don't enjoy that from an FPL perspective. Like, I don't enjoy seeing people get massive reds, but this is the time when you can go and get a massive green arrow yourself. So, just to briefly go through it, I hate Robert Sanchez so very much. He comes away with a 0-pointer. In all honesty, I'm not expecting a clean sheet, or I wasn't, for Sanchez or Fabianski. I really hope Fabianski doesn't get one now, and I hope he doesn't make too many saves, because Sanchez conceded 3, of course, and he got booked as well, so he comes away with 0 points. So just really disappointing. I mean, it's easy in hindsight, if Fabianski does smash it, to say, why didn't you play the player playing at home with a better fixture? But West Ham have been awful defensively, and I had Cunha. So I was like, you know what? I don't own any Spurs assets. I'll just back Sanchez. But anyway, 0-pointer is obviously not very good. The rest of the defence, pretty stinky so far, to be honest. I mean, Vandenberg, 0-pointer. Gabriel didn't feature, and we're going to have to discuss what we do now moving forward with Gabriel. He's missed the last 2 games. We know that we can't trust Arteta. We know that he was apparently training indoors, so let's see what happens moving forward. But that's now another game that he's missed. Luckily for me, Arsenal didn't keep a clean sheet anyway, but obviously Saliba did grab the goal. Rico Lewis was... This sums up Rico Lewis as a pick. So Rico Lewis was honestly terrible in the game. I kept looking at SofaScore, and he always had the lowest rating throughout the game. And I was like, Rico Lewis isn't playing well. I was listening to commentary as well. Sounds like he just didn't have a particularly good game. Goes and gets the goal, and all of a sudden we're like, hang on here. Is Rico Lewis going to finally haul? No, he then picks up a booking, and I'm like, that's classic Rico Lewis. Then gets the second booking. I will be honest, the second booking was very harsh, and if VAR could overturn yellow cards, I don't think there's any chance they give that as a second yellow. And obviously, Man City can't appeal that now because it's a yellow card suspension, or 2 yellow cards rather than a straight red. So yeah, Rico Lewis sadly going to miss the next game. I say sadly, we probably didn't want to play him anyway, but he comes away with 4 points, which I suppose is better than the normal 1 pointer that we get from him. And Leif Davis, in all honesty, Ipswich deserved to concede in that game, but they conceded very late. I thought I was going to finally get a return from Leif Davis, but sadly, they concede 2 in the final seconds, and Leif Davis comes away with a 1-pointer. So it's all on Ait Nouri. Hopefully on Monday night, he can get me something in the defence. In the midfield, I've got 2 blanks and then 2 pretty big hauls. So Saka and Rodgers both blanking. Saka did score late on, but obviously it was disallowed. I think Fulham are just really good defensively. I know Arsenal accumulated 2 XG, but I think Fulham are just very underrated as a team. It's funny because Liverpool are about to play Fulham now, and I am questioning Salah captaincy, as we'll discuss. But yeah, Saka blanks. Rodgers, I called this completely wrong. I thought his minutes would be at a massive risk, and he actually played very decent. He played the entire game, right? Because he was booked in the 96th minute. I honestly, I would have bet a large amount of my own money that Rodgers wasn't going to see beyond 70 minutes, let alone get the entire game. He did have a couple of chances that he was involved in, but largely it was a pretty quiet performance for him. He comes away with a 2-pointer, but then the 2 that delivered for me, Cole Palmer, 18-pointer. There's a massive element of luck here that he got 2 penalties in a given game. But what do I always say? This is why you own penalty takers. This is why you captain penalty takers. And you need a bit of good luck in FPL. So yeah, very, very lucky if you captained him to get the 2 penalties. But overall, Palmer was exceptionally good in that game. So he comes away with what looks like an 18-pointer, 36 with captaincy. So that's fantastic. The big scorer as well was Brian Mbeumo. Again, there is a large element of luck here. If you watch the game, he was still playing relatively deep. I wouldn't say quite right wing back, but he's certainly not playing as part of the front three, you wouldn't say. It's sort of like a right mid role where he gets sort of up and down that right side. He took his goal incredibly well. The assist was also a really nice pass, and he missed a big chance in the final moments of the game. He could have also been coming away with an 18-pointer, and it does go to show that sometimes patience is rewarded. Now, that is still only one shot on target in the last 5 games for Mbeumo. So I still don't think that Mbeumo is a wonderful asset, and I'm still looking at potentially selling him myself this week. The issue is just the lack of alternatives, as we'll discuss. But yeah, 1 goal, 1 assist. You can't ask for much more. He's still on penalties. He's still on set pieces. He's just a really okay asset to hold, but I also understand wanting to sell him. João Pedro has actually been one of the most disappointing players that I've owned in recent weeks. He's just not really doing it. I still think he's fantastic value, but I think this goes to show why he is probably priced as he is. There's a bit of a lack of consistency going on there as well, both for Brighton, but also for João Pedro too. So at his price, I'm not really going to complain. I'm not expecting stuff from him every week. But if over the next couple he continues to disappoint, there are other cheap forwards. Eva Nilsson is a good option, I think, at that sort of similar-ish price. Obviously slightly more expensive, but there are other options that we could potentially move to. And then Isak, I love the man. A lot of people obviously sold Isak 2 weeks ago for Jackson. In that time, Jackson has got 0 and then 2, so 2 points overall. Isak gets 11 and then what looks like it will be 8 points. So 19 points versus 2 in 2 weeks. That's obviously a very massive swing. I don't think it deserves that much of a swing, but I said before the Liverpool game, I think Isak is a better asset than Jackson. I'm perfectly happy holding him. I like the fact that he's on penalties. And really, I wouldn't say he's unlucky not to get more, but if you watched both of the last 2 games for Newcastle, Isak is performing at a ridiculously high standard, and he's now going into Leicester and Ipswich. So I'm obviously very delighted that I kept him, and he's just one of my favourite assets in FPL. So yeah, that was how it went. Obviously, the Liverpool game being postponed was the main thing. Probably should have started with that. I am now going to sit here and say what a lucky, lucky, lucky boy I am. If the Liverpool game went ahead, I wouldn't have captained Palmer, and I would have sold Mbeumo. Now, before you say it's all about luck, we don't know, right? Because I would have sold Mbeumo probably for Semenyo, who blanked, but I would have bought Trent and captain Salah. You never know. Trent and Salah might have gone absolutely nuclear in that game, but what are the chances that Salah gets 18 and Trent matches the 11-point deficit that I would have got selling Mbeumo for Semenyo? I don't think it's that high. So I've got incredibly lucky this week, and I'll always admit as a content creator when I get lucky, I think it's important to say that FPL is largely about luck, right? You can put out the best team possible, but you also need luck on your side. So there we go. That was Game Week 15 so far. 68 points with 8 Nuri and Cunha left to play. Hopefully Wolves have a big Monday evening, but if not, it should still be a healthy green arrow. So guys, if you didn't see, this season Manchester United launched their own fantasy football game called Fantasy United, and recently, I'm very excited to say, they've launched a new format which is head-to-head, where you can invite up to 7 of your friends in a round-robin format to challenge you week by week to see who knows Manchester United better. And I'm also very excited to say that as part of the launch, they invited me to challenge the first team players to see how well they remembered games from the previous season in a very similar head-to-head format. So I'm going to show you a clip, and then afterwards I'll tell you a little bit more about how you can join my own head-to-head leagues. For the first time ever, the United Stars will be going head-to-head against each other in our Fantasy United game. We have Matthias de Ligt and Nusair Mazraoui. And the game that we have selected for them to go against each other for is the Southampton game from this season. Gents, I hope you remember it well. Best of luck.
Ultra rare is going to be myself. I think I got a lot of points in this game because I scored a goal and we had a clean sheet. So my ultra rare will be myself.
Yeah, my ultra rare is gonna be the same because I think you were MVP of the game, if I'm right. Then there's no other choice than you. If I could choose somebody else.
Thank you.
So my rare is gonna be Andre Onana. He saved the penalty at 0-0. So I think for me he's the second best.
It's a good shout, Andre Onana, but let's make it fun. I will go for a different one. I go for Garnacho because he scored a goal and there was a foul on him and then he got a red card, the opponent, so hopefully this is also in the points. Let's see. Let's see. But I will go a different way. My 3 classics are gonna be Andre Onana, Marcus Rashford, Bruno Fernandes.
My 3 classics gonna be Rashford, Bruno Fernandes, and Diogo Dalot.
Points.
The points. I think I messed up maybe. I forgot that Diogo created the penalty against us.
But he had a good shot with Onana, to be fair, with the penalty saved. So
Yeah,
I think it's quite even. Let's see who wins.
One of you got 91 points and one of you got 106 points, which is actually a massive score for the both of you. So in second place is Matthias. I'm sorry. And it was indeed the penalty save for the
penalty
penalty on it. The penalty save is what's longer. Yeah, you got 14 points in the penalty save. So there we go. Tight battle though, very tight.
Yeah, it was.
Congratulations.
Yes, thank you.
Get involved now.
There he is. My guy. My guy.
So guys, there you have it. You've seen the challenge between Mazraoui and De Ligt. Both of them were absolutely fantastic. And we did various challenges with the other players as well. And if you'd like to see the full video, I will link it down below. It's great to see their personalities. And honestly, they love the head-to-head format because they are so competitive. And if you'd like to get involved and test your United knowledge and also go head-to-head with me and also your friends, I have created 9 different, you can see FPL Raptor YouTube leagues. The way to do this is simply, when you're watching this video, try and click the first link, which will be the first head-to-head league. If that's full, click the second link. If that's full, click the third link. As soon as these leagues are full, that will be it. So I've only created these 9 here. So if you'd like to go head-to-head with me on a weekly basis and your friends, get them to join these leagues, but also create your own as well. Fantasy United is brilliant. We love fantasy football, but if you're a United fan in particular, it's obviously great that you will own Manchester United players and that you get to enjoy not only Premier League games, by the way, but all of the games throughout the season. These leagues will begin for the Man City game in 7 days, which at some of you watching should also be 7 days. So you've got a few days to join. As I said, get your friends involved, get involved yourself, create your team. I've been loving it all season. A massive shout out to Manchester United as well. I really do appreciate these opportunities and thank you for your support as well, because without you guys watching this, I wouldn't get these opportunities as well. So yeah, definitely join. There will be all the links down below in the description. So guys, moving on to my Game Week 16 team selection, because I obviously decided not to make any transfers in Game Week 15 because of the Liverpool game being postponed. That means that I still have the 1.1 million in the bank, but I now have 3 free transfers. I'm in a very flexible position. And as I've said for the sort of the last few weeks, I've considered things all the way from rolling, because I think I might be able to get away with it with my current team, all the way to using all 3 of my free transfers. And I'd love your opinion on what you would do with my team at this early stage. And of course, news throughout the week will probably impact that. So yeah, 3 free transfers to use. Starting with the goalkeeper situation, I am convinced at some point that Sanchez will lose his place. Maresca seems to love him, but if you watch the Chelsea-Spurs game, Sanchez was awful. Not only did he get booked and concede 3, he kept giving the ball away. He just doesn't instill confidence. If he is to lose his place, so be it. I mean, the next 3 games for Fabianski are pretty decent. Beyond that, the fixtures aren't perfect for West Ham. At some point, I might need to sell Sanchez. Coming to this week, Brentford are scoring a lot of goals, but I still think I'm going to back Sanchez ahead of Fabianski because it's not an easy fixture for West Ham. Let's see how they get on, obviously, on Monday evening. Against Bournemouth away, I don't back either of them to keep clean sheets, but probably Sanchez slightly more. So the goalkeeper situation certainly isn't perfect, but it's also not the end of the world. I'll do the defense at the end. So midfield and attack situation, I'm actually very happy with it. So Saka, Palmer, Salah, very happy to have the 3 of them. Salah is going to have a double game week coming up. And by the way, the 2 most likely weeks for Salah to have a double game week now is 25 or 33. If it's 25, it's Wolves and Everton as his double game week. If it's 33, it's Leicester and Everton. So Salah probably has a double game week later in the season of Wolves and Everton or Leicester and Everton, which means that if you've got your triple captainship left, you absolutely keep it and you definitely hold on to Mohamed Salah. It could be as early as game week 19. It's more likely to be 24, 25 or 33, but you definitely hold on to Salah now for the foreseeable future, especially as they have that extra double game week coming up. Whether you captain him this week, I think there's a discussion to be had because Everton are very decent defensively. Fulham are very decent defensively. Brentford are not particularly good defensively, and Cole Palmer is coming off the back of a very good performance against Spurs. Now, he did get 2 penalties, and if I'm trying to think, removing the bias, if he'd have not had those 2 penalties and just had the single assist from open play, because that is all he had from open play, would I be as keen to captain him? I still think he would be a fantastic option, but there is a little bit of bias driven by the fact that he's just come off the back of an 18-pointer. I also think, because Salah didn't play in Game Week 15, he's sort of at the back of our mind a little bit. Like if Salah had got another double-digit haul against Everton and actually played in 15, then we wouldn't even be second-guessing it. I think I'll probably captain Salah, but I do think that Fulham is a much more difficult fixture than Brentford. But anyway, the 3 of them, all playing at home this week is fantastic. Brian Mbeumo and Rodgers, I don't love either of them, but as you'll see when we move on to my potential transfers, I really don't like any midfielders that much outside of Saka, Palmer, Salah. You could give me unlimited budget. You could give me KDB, Son, Bruno. Like, I don't love any of the midfielders outside the 3 premium. So it's not a budget thing. It's not a free transfers thing. I just truly don't want to own many of the midfielders. So there is the possibility that I downgrade Mbeumo all the way and then upgrade one of João Pedro or Cunha and go for a more expensive front line. But I'm also very happy with my front line. The only reason that I will make a transfer in the midfield is not because I desperately want to shift Mbeumo, because again, I don't think the alternatives are much better, is if I want to upgrade my defence in terms of money. Because I've got the free transfers to just make defensive transfers. I could just sell a couple of my defenders for cheaper ones. And I've got 1.1 in the bank, by the way. But if I want to move to the likes of Van Dijk, to Trent, to Saliba, if I want to get those real premiums, even potentially Gvardiol, who I know some people are looking at selling, but I think is really good for the upcoming games, then I'll have to sell Mbeumo. So that's the only thing I'm thinking there. Mbeumo's got a very good record, actually, against Chelsea at Stamford Bridge, so I wouldn't even mind potentially playing him. If I do keep Mbeumo, I think I would start him ahead of Rodgers, even though I've got Sanchez, because I just think Mbeumo is a better asset than Rodgers, with the pens, with the corners. And I also think that Rodgers is going to get limited minutes. Like, unless he gets rested against Leipzig, which I don't think is likely, he might get sort of 60 to 70 minutes against Forest, and we know that Forest are quite good defensively. So, yeah, midfield situation isn't awful. And then the front line looks wonderful for this week. They're all playing at home with brilliant fixtures, right? Isak against Leicester at home looks incredible. Cunha against Ipswich at home. Ipswich have been a bit better defensively recently, but it looks like a wonderful fixture. And then João Pedro against Crystal Palace at home feels like another good fixture. All 3 of them at home feels wonderful. And in fact, at the moment, 9 of my starting 11 are at home, and the only 2 that are away, I'm looking at potentially selling. So the team in general is looking really, really strong. So 3 free transfers. Let's now discuss the defense, because in all honesty, you could comfortably use all 3 of the transfers in defense, which I might potentially do. I'll start with Gabriel. I did look just before recording this video. I still can't see a definitive update on Gabriel. So let's wait throughout the week. Let's see if he's involved in the Champions League squad. If he's not involved in the Champions League and we still don't see him in team training, unless we get a definitive update that he's injured long term, I'll still probably hold him. I think he's that good. But it would force me into using more transfers on my defense to cover the possibility of him being out. Because not only do I have Leif Davis, who isn't great, not only do I have Van den Berg, not only do I have Lewis, who is suspended, I haven't seen Wolves versus West Ham, and I have a sneaky suspicion Aït-Nouri might pick up his 5th yellow card. And if he does that, I've got a potentially injured Gabriel, a suspended Aït-Nouri, a suspended Rico Lewis, Van den Berg, and Leif Davis. So the defense could be horrid. I really, really need Aït-Nouri to not get suspended. So let's say that Gabriel, we don't have an update on, but he's not definitely ruled out. And let's say Aït-Nouri doesn't get suspended. I could roll the transfer and not make a defender transfer, because Leif Davis against Wolves, yes, he clashes with Cunha. Yes, he's probably not keeping a clean sheet. But other than bringing in like an Arsenal or a Liverpool defender, I'm not necessarily convinced. Like this week, Aston Villa were the only team to keep a clean sheet. Like clean sheets aren't really happening that often, even for the premium teams. So I'm not that eager to bring in many other defenders. But yeah, that's the situation we're in. I could roll. But what I'm looking at more likely is, like I said, just freeing up some funds to get to a Liverpool or Arsenal defender, because those are the ones I really want. I want Timber. I don't mind Saliba. I'd like a Van Dijk. I'd like a Trent. I wouldn't even mind a Joe Gomez. Those are the players that I really want to get to. And ideally, I'd like to own 2. That becomes a little bit difficult unless I really downgrade Mbeumo. And I am hesitant. Like right now, I think that Mbeumo is... At that price point, I'm not that desperate to own a player. Because I look around it, yeah, Gordon looks okay. Matoma's not bad, but they're a little bit cheaper. I'm not that desperate for Fernandes. I'm like, do you know what? I don't need a player at that mid-price in the midfield. But you never know, right? If Bruno Fernandes continues to look amazing and continues to play advanced, I might want him. Ødegaard might start getting on the score sheet. Gordon might look really, really good, and his minutes look really secure, of course, after the benching. So it might be that I then want that price. And if I do something like Mbeumo to Ahmad to upgrade my defense and use all of the remaining money in the defense, it then makes me less flexible moving forward. Like, let's say that João Pedro continues to struggle a little bit. I might want to move João Pedro to Jackson. And again, if I type all of the funds in the defense, that makes it pretty tricky. So basically, all of that to say, I'm actually very happy with where the team's at. The 3 free transfers makes it very flexible. I have the option of either just making a couple of defender transfers, like, for example, by the way, Leif Davis to Timber or Leif Davis to Joe Gomez. That might be enough. But I am also still very tempted to take some funds out of Mbeumo and really beef up the defense. Let me know what you think of the team. Let's now take a look at my transfer plans and what that might mean for my team moving forward. So guys, moving on to my possible transfers for Game Week 16. As I said, there is a possibility that I just make a couple of defender transfers, right? I could go for Joe Gomez for Timber if I still want to cover Liverpool and Arsenal defence. I could move to, as you can see on your screen, the likes of Kirkes, Lewis Hall. I still feel like offer decent value. So there is the option to just switch around the defenders a little bit with those 2 or 3 free transfers that I could use. But I really see Liverpool defence as being elite and up there with Arsenal as one of the best defences in the league. Like, I think they stand out for me as the 2 best defences in the league. I would be very surprised if at the end of the season they are not the top 2 for expected goals conceded. So I want a Liverpool defender, especially going into what is a very decent fixture run, and especially given they have that extra double game week. Like, if I bring in a Liverpool defender, I'll probably hold them now, arguably for the remainder of the season. So I think it's very critical to get that in my team. And I also like having 2 premium defenders. I feel like it's good to have. If you end up needing to free up funds, you can do that. But I also feel like it's a nice structure that I often do have in FPL. So yeah, I could just go for Joe Gomez if I wanted an easy way into the Liverpool defence. But his utility long term, it just isn't quite there. As soon as Konate is back, we know that he'll step back in probably as the centre-back alongside Van Dijk. All this means is that I want Trent or Van Dijk in my team. And unless we get news that Gabriel is out long term, I have to make a downgrade to do that. And really, Mbeumo's the only place in my team. I'm not selling my 3 premiums. I'm not selling Alexander Isak. Cunha is a place I could free up funds, but he's got 2 brilliant fixtures now, so I can't do that yet. So the option is, if I want to bring in a Liverpool defender right now, Mbeumo has to be the one that's downgraded. So I'm going to go through that option. As I just said, though, Cunha's only really got 2 more good fixtures. I could potentially put off the Liverpool defender move until game week 16, 17, 18, when they go against Leicester, West Ham in back-to-back weeks, Liverpool. And at that point, then, I could keep Mbeumo if I wanted to and actually sell Cunha instead. But at the same time, just because Cunha's just got a goal and an assist, it doesn't suddenly make him an amazing asset once again. I still have all of the same concerns. 1 shot in target in 5 games. He's not as advanced as he used to be. And the fixtures over the next 4 aren't good. Chelsea, Forest, Brighton, Arsenal. So yeah, I am still leaning towards probably making the moves this week of downgrading Mbeumo and upgrading a defender. When I look at who I can bring in for Mbeumo, it is still probably between Semenyo and Iwobi for me. I don't like either of them that much. Like, the data for both of them is not particularly mind-blowing. Neither of them have got lots and lots of points this season. Neither of them have shown a massive haul potential. But they're also very cheap, and it's what they enable, right? I'm not sitting here and saying, I want Semenyo or Iwobi instead of Mbeumo. I'm saying I'm willing to make that move to bring in a Liverpool defender. So that's probably where I'm leaning right now. As to who I go for, I love the fact that this week Semenyo's got West Ham, right? I think that is a much better fixture for me than Rodgers against Forest away. So it just means that I can just straight away put Semenyo in for this week. Whereas Iwobi's got Liverpool, which is basically forcing me here to play Rodgers against Forest away. However, in 17, Semenyo's got Man United, and I believe Rodgers has Man City, right? So I have to play one of Semenyo against Man United or Rodgers against Man City, whereas Iwobi's got Southampton at home. If you actually look at the rotation works better between Rodgers and Iwobi than it does Rodgers and Semenyo. So I'm probably leaning Iwobi at the moment, but I don't really love that as a transfer. It's just, if I want to get a Liverpool defender in that isn't Gomez, it's what I've got to do. As to who I sell, you might be surprised to hear me say this because I love him. I'm leaning towards selling Leif Davis ahead of both Rico Lewis and Ait Nouri. The reason for not selling Ait Nouri is if he doesn't get suspended, he's got Ipswich and Leicester in the next 2. I just can't sell him before those 2 when I feel like he's absolutely fine to play for. Beyond that, I will be selling him. If he gets suspended, then yeah, it's probably going to be Ait Nouri that I sell instead of Leif Davis. Right? So at the moment, Leif Davis. As to why I'm not planning Rico Lewis as the first defender that I sell, he's actually got really good fixtures coming up after Manchester United and Villa. You can see a few of them there against Everton, Leicester and West Ham. He's actually had very good minutes this season. And for all that we've not really got the points to show for it, City are struggling a little bit defensively. You've got a nailed-on City defender this season playing in a more attacking role than you would usually have for a defender with good fixtures coming up. So I'm trying to take a little bit of the emotion out of it and just think, longer term, I think, given the fixtures that Davis has coming up, Rico Lewis is probably a better hold. So that's a lot of rambling to basically say Mbeumo would be downgraded and Leif Davis would be upgraded. As to whether I go for Trent or Van Dijk, I think I'll go for Trent for the upside. He won't get as good minutes, but he's just got so much more attacking threat that I think it will outweigh the lack of minutes that he gets in comparison to Van Dijk. So Van Dijk will get 10 starts out the next 10. Trent might get 9, maybe 8. He might get 10, but it's very unlikely. but I fancy him to do so much damage in those 8 to 9 that he still outscores Van Dijk. That would be my prediction. But obviously, long-term, season keeper, Van Dijk may well outscore Trent for the rest of the season if Trent continues to struggle a little bit. I just feel like I'd rather go for the upside if I can afford it. Now, that would be 2 transfers. The only way that I would make another transfer is if Gabriel is a major doubt, he's not involved in the Champions League, we don't see him in training, or Aït-Nouri gets suspended. Because if Aït-Nouri gets suspended and Gabriel's a doubt, I'm then looking at I might not have 3 defenders. If either of those things happen, then Rico Lewis or Aït-Nouri, and honestly, if it's Aït-Nouri suspension, he'd be the one I sell. If it is a Gabriel doubt, then it might be that I sell Rico Lewis. But the other 2 defenders that I'm looking to bring in below 5 million is Kirkez and Gomez. Gomez would be very tempting because I would go from then having 1 Liverpool and no Liverpool defenders to triple Liverpool and double Liverpool defence, which I really like moving forward. But he's also a much shorter term option than Kirkez, who I know will start every game, what he should do. And he's also got more attacking threat than Gomez. But anyway, Lewis to one of Kirkez or Gomez would be the 3rd possible transfer. So if I chuck it back to my team, this is the way the team looks right now. Imagine Rodgers instead of Mbeumo and Iwobi on the bench, and then Trent Alexander-Arnold instead of Leif Davis. That would be the potential team. And then, like I said, if I have doubts around Aït-Nouri or Gabriel, well, then I'd have to make a transfer because Lewis is suspended and I don't want Van den Berg subbing in against Chelsea away. So that's how the team looks. Let me know what you think of my plans and let me know what your plans are for Game Week 16 as well. So guys, there you have it. That is the Game Week 16 transfer plans. Hopefully you did enjoy. And if you did, please do smash that like button and make sure to subscribe as well. And like I said, if you're a Manchester United fan, then make sure to join Fantasy United. Make sure to join one of my head-to-head leagues as well. And thank you once again to Manchester United for all of the support. Until next time, thank you very much for watching. Bye-bye.